Hello, welcome everybody to the first ever edition of a YouTube show that I would like to call The Training Den. This show is going to be focused on showcasing decks and deck concepts that are prevalent in the metagame, as well as discussing techs, ideas, and counters while analyzing gameplay and approaches to different decks in the metagame. My name is Darrell Moreno, and I'm also going to be known as Weasel Control, part of Team Control. And before I even get started analyzing this deck, I would like to introduce myself because for everybody who's watching this for the first time, you are all probably wondering, who is this person? What does he have to offer? And what can he provide to me that will help me get better? And I agree with you. Let me tell you. There's a ton of people on YouTube that are probably doing deck profiles and gameplay analysis for the TCG, and I think that's great. Don't get me wrong. I think the more TCG content online that's willing to help everybody is better. It makes everything much more helpful for people who are looking for the content, who are trying to get better, who are trying to be more knowledgeable about the Pokemon TCG on a competitive level. And I just want to be someone who's also a part of that. I want to be able to provide that type of help for everybody. So, as I said, my name is Darrell. I'm from the New York City area. I've been playing for probably over 15 years. So the amount of knowledge that I have for the game and how the game usually flows is pretty extensive. I understand the purpose of the game, the mechanics of the game, how the game changes, and how adaptable one can be and should be to those changes for the game. I've seen the game through its ups and downs, and I've seen the strategies that people have employed based on those changes and based on those additions of cards that are either rehashes of old cards or cards that have never been seen before. My personal credentials are, throughout the years I've played competitively for so long. I've played about over 15 years, but competitively it's been probably like 10 or so. I'm not really sure. It's been too many years. But throughout those years, I've won like multiple cities, multiple states. I believe I've won a regionals before. I probably have top cut other regionals. I've 2009 I've come second in nationals. I think that's my most well-known accomplishment so far. And most recently in 2014 I was undefeated in Swiss for nationals, and I ended up with a pretty impressive ninth place for that. So those accomplishments aren't really meant for me to be boasting, although I'd like to do so, I must admit. I really am just mentioning those accomplishments in order to put things into perspective. I I like to dissect the metagame as much as I can. I think I have a pretty good grasp on the metagame, even throughout most of its changes, and I feel like I'm pretty adaptable based on what the metagame looks like at its current state. So hopefully you see those credentials and my credibility that goes with it, and you understand that, perhaps I do have knowledge that can be useful for anybody else who wants to do well in a competitive scene for Pokemon. And I'll be doing a ton of videos. I've been wanting to do it for quite some time, and I'm finally getting around to it. Unfortunately, this year and last year I haven't been as prominent in the competitive scene for Pokemon TCG, and I'm going to try to make that different. I'm trying to change that so that I can be more present for the big tournaments, for the more important parts of the Pokemon scene, and so that way I can keep myself aligned with what's going on for Pokemon, and with that I can help everybody else feel more in tune. So without further ado, let's go on with the deck profile. Let us analyze one of the most impressive decks that have come out of the 2015 to the 2016 Cities tournament metagame. And that's going to be Zoroark, Yveltal, Gallade. Now, Zoroark, Yveltal, Gallade pretty much is just one of the very many additions or faces of Yveltal. Yveltal throughout the years since its arrival, and even before that, just Darkrai and Dark in general, have been a dominating aspect of the game. From its Dark Explorers introduction, where we've had Sableye, Darkrai EX, and most importantly, Dark Patch. Dark has just been super dominant. It's been able to do everything. It's had so many options. It could do whatever it wants. Has flexibility, has defense if it wants. It's super aggressive. The recovery is amazing, and as rotations have passed and a lot of the options have gone by, it just seems like Darkrai doesn't ever, well, not Darkrai, Dark in general, never really wants to just leave the face of the metagame. It always finds a way to stay at the forefront. And this version of Dark utilizes what I like to call baby Yveltal. It's not Yveltal EX, so it's the little Yveltal. This guy is, for a basic, huge. He's super big, 130. I think that's the biggest non-EX basic in terms of HP out there. And that makes it incredibly difficult to kill. Super tanky. Two different attacks. One of them, which is, if I would say, the main attack, Oblivion Wing, which allows it to put pressure on the opponent by poking it for 30 damage, which is not bad. With a Muscle Band, it's 50. Pretty solid. While getting back an energy, a dark energy from your discard pile, and attaching it to anybody on your bench. And it's only one dark. So the attack is super cheap. It adds to the recovery, and it adds slight pressure in order to allow any other Pokemon you have on your field to knock out something that's potentially big, like an EX, to take 2 prizes, or even like a Mega. That'll be like 220. It just makes it that much easier. If you poke for 50, they're down to 170. And 170 is a lot more manageable than a monster's 220 HP. So really solid. And fortunately, that's not the only thing he can do. He can also put heavy pressure on the opponent with Darkness Blade. Solid 100. 50% chance of not being able to attack next turn, but considering the fact that Zoroark, which I'll get to later, Zoroark can use stand-in, and utilize Float Stones, which we have in the deck. Yveltal can pretty much reset that and do it again if it needs to, so that 50% chance might not even matter. Solid 100, potentially 120. If he needs to get a knockout, he has the means to do so. And 3 energies, a little heavy for the standard metagame, which doesn't really have too much energy recursion for this metagame, but if you need to do 100 with him, he can transition from someone who puts light pressure to someone who puts heavy pressure. He's the best starter in the deck, and it's, for a good reason. He does what he has to do, and he does it well. Alright, so we're gonna go to also Yveltal EX. Normally Yveltal EX is the main character in the deck when it comes to expanded or last year or any other year before that. But the way the standard format has been shaping up, it's been kind of based off of like a prize race. And in with that being said, non-EXs are becoming more favorable as time goes on because EXs are so expensive when the game comes down to who gets their prizes the fastest, rather than who sets up the best or uh, who has better hand control or whatever the case may be. Right now, it's non-EXs battling for prize exchange and prize denial and whatnot. Nevertheless, he's still included in the deck as 2, kind of like a side attacker, just in case you have a tanky Pokemon that has a ton of energies that's trying to pressure your side of the field into a place where you can't necessarily counter it, or maybe it's trying to heal off any damage you may be poking with someone like Yveltal. He threatens one-shots with Evil Ball. Evil Ball does 20 plus 20 times the amount of energies on both Pokemon. So the more energies they have, the more damage he does. He also gets fueled by Double Colorless, as with the whole rest of the Pokemon do in the entire deck. So he has quick way to do massive damage to bigger Pokemon where every other Pokemon in the deck might have trouble. Also, he has Y-Cyclone, so if he needs to also do like a pseudo poke, and I'm going to use that term because it's not necessarily a poke. 90 damage is pretty heavy, but he's not necessarily like going to be one-shotting many things with the 90. Potentially yes, but maybe not. 90 damage for essentially 2 energy cards, 1 dark and a double colorless, and he has the ability to push one of the energies. Well, he's forced to, but he has the ability to push one of the energies to the back. So if he does get knocked out, at least one of your important energies, like a dark or a double colorless, doesn't get thrown away with it. I think he's probably one of the top 5 EXs right now that exist. He's also super flexible, super strong. In a way, he has a pseudo energy recovering, a pseudo energy reduction. I don't know, but he's solid in that sense that he has, again, options, which is, I believe, what this deck is about. We added Shaman. Shaman is a staple in most decks, and this deck is no different. You use setup that makes your Ultra Balls in the deck able to draw. So any hands that might have been dead are no longer dead. Pretty amazing. And if you start with him, you could potentially Sky Return, add pressure, don't lose your double colorless, and you set up next turn. That move might bait out Hex Maniac, but it's still nice to have the ability to get him off the field if you need to, and use a setup in a time where you might have a dead hand, or you're trying to avoid a knockout because he's only 110 HP and he gives up 2 prizes, so you probably want to avoid that sometimes. Or you just need to draw power, whatever it is. He can hit the field and leave it, and he's just a staple. We can be using every deck. Super good and super needed, especially in this deck where he can utilize double colorless. Zoroark's there because he needs to evolve. End of story. 60 HP. And nothing else is different. I guess his Moonless Madness is better than the other Zoroark. Not really sure. I don't think it really matters much. Zoroark is one of the secondary attackers, but again, I like to use that term a little loosely because based on what decks you're fighting, he might be the main attacker. Let's just say that Yveltal, Baby Yveltal, is the primary attacker in the sense that he attacks first, and Zoroark is usually the guy that attacks second or later, mid game, and maybe even late game. He has a stand-in. I already touched upon it, but he can pretty much use Keldeo EX's Russian, and with Flipstone, he can get out of the spot if he needs to, just in case the stand-in was just for something else. If your active is plagued with a special condition or some effect that messes him up, like if he had a double colorless and he has a heavy retreat, but now the double colorless is gone because of Enhance Hammer, Zoroark can get him out of there, and you can bring up somebody else, maybe an Yveltal to recover or something else. Or if you just don't want to waste energies to retreat and you want him to be the attacker, he can rush in and do the same thing and be the attacker without spending energy. It keeps the energies on board, which is just better options for you. His attack is really, really solid. I like it. It's Mind Jack, so anybody who's played in the Plasma era knows that Absol had this attack, but it was far more weaker than what Zoroark has. Zoroark does 10 damage plus 30 for every bench Pokemon your opponent has. So anybody who plays a lot of bench Pokemon, and with the way decks are in Standard, a lot of Pokemon usually need to be benched based on strategies that the deck utilizes, like Bronzong or Raichu or Crobat or anything else. If a deck utilizes a strategy that are based on powers, abilities, whatever, or just wants to command that type of presence, Mind Jack becomes super effective. Mind the pun. Super effective when it comes to dishing out a ridiculous amount of damage. A full standard bench, 5 bench Pokemon on their field, that does 160. Put it up with a Muscle Band, and you're one-shotting a 180X for double colorless. So that's an energy drop, and that's super duper strong. Even better when Skyfield is in play and your opponent wants to add more bench Pokemon. Usually with Raichu, so you don't necessarily need to do a ton of damage, but like just the fact that you can in a deck that maybe doesn't use Raichu but wants to use Skyfield is just super reassuring to know. Amazing Pokemon, super solid, and super strong when he needs to be, and he's fits perfectly in the deck because of double colorless. Alright, I also have Gallade. Now Gallade is I don't want to say tertiary attacker. I would just say he's kind of another attacker, another secondary, only because like you bring him out through the use of Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick, get your hand empty, get Maxie's, throw Gallade away, and bring him back and draw 5. He's big for someone who's, I guess you can say, a pseudo EX, because he can't be dropped on a whim, but he can be brought back without evolving. 150 is really big for a non-EX. He's a stage 2, so it makes sense, but still, 150 is big. His ability, Premonition, is really solid. Prevents drawing dead. Allows you to do so many tricks with the top of your deck, such as if you're looking for a specific card, you can use Premonition and combine it with stuff like Acrobike or anything that's like a straight draw. I don't think I have too much straight draw in this deck, but I also have Giovanni, so if like Giovanni's is needed to draw like 3, you can Premonition and draw the right 3 rather than a blind 3 cards. Not necessarily the high point of this deck, but it's more useful than people give it credit for. Premonition is super solid. You should use it once per turn. You can give yourself, it's like giving yourself double the chance of drawing what you need when combined with other cards in your deck. So it's too good to pass up using it once per turn. His main thing that's going on for him is Sensitive Blade. Sensitive Blade does 60 plus 70 if you have used a supporter this turn for a double colorless. So the ability to do 130 every turn, essentially, because you're probably going to be using a supporter every turn, is pretty solid. It one-shots almost every non-EX basic. And it one-shots everything that's not an EX, essentially, in the metagame. I guess besides something that's resistant to fighting, like Baby Yveltal. And even with a muscle band, he can do that. What's great about him is that since Yveltal and Yveltal EX are weak to lightning, and even Shaman, they're weak to lightning, Gallade kind of fends off Manectric in trying to dominate those three from taking the field. Manectric scares them off, Gallade scares Manectric off, Yveltal can stay, pretty much. It's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing going. And then you want to continue on with the rock, paper, scissors thing. Manectric has flash energy, then you have Enhanced Hammer, Zerasic, and, it goes on and on. So, Gallade is pretty much meant for Manectric, or maybe not necessarily, but it fits well in the deck because it fends off Manectric, and it's a super solid attack, super solid ability, gives you so many options. So this is a Pokemon. Energies are pretty simple. 4 double colorless. Everybody in the deck uses double colorless. Everybody's attack is pretty much 1 for 1 energy drop, and double colorless pretty much allows that to happen. Considering the fact that Zoroark can stand in and leave, if you do get hit by something like Enhanced Hammer, you don't get stranded. You can probably fall back on a safety net that's Yveltal, where you bring them in, you stand in, retreat, bring an Yveltal, and try to recover while poking. It's not the best option, but it's a better option than nothing. So, double colorless being dependent on isn't necessarily as scary as other decks that do depend on it, because Yveltal's around to pick up the pieces when you need it. 6 dark energies seems a little low, but considering that Yveltal brings things back, it's not as low as you think. I'm gonna go through supporters a little differently. They're kind of scattered, so I'll just try to pick them off one by one. Professor Sycamore. Most decks play 4, but we've been seeing a little bit of a lower count of this card because people are depending more on regular trainers that are a little faster and increase the consistency of decks getting out what they need when they need it. So, Professor Sycamore at 2 and having 4 VS Seeker, it's not a big deal. And the more supporters in a deck, the harder it is for decks that do play Maxis or Archies to empty their hand out and get that card to pop and get your Gallade or Auxiliary or whatever it is you bring up. Often the case, if you can't get your Maxis to get played or be played, it's probably because you're stuck with a supporter in your hand. So, having 2 Sycamores, more trainers, and everything else allows you to prevent that. Depending on VS Seeker is not so bad because you can pick what supporter you want. So it could be a Maxis if you need it, but if you don't need it, it could just be a Sycamore and you move on with the game based on how your hand is looking. I have again 2 Maxis. Play 2 because 1 is too low, considering that Gallade is an essential part of, I would say, most matchups. And if the 1 is prized, you have 2 useless cards in the deck for the majority of the game, unless you happen to get it off the prizes early. So just 2. You usually just need 1, and then you could just reuse it with VS Seeker, but it's just reassuring to have 2 and not worry about prize issues. Let's see. Everything else is kind of a one of, based on situations. You have 1 Zerasic. If you need to get rid of special energies, he can do that. You need to get rid of tools, he can also do that. Tools are not necessarily the biggest thing, but if like a Mega whiffs on getting its Mega out but leaves a tool on him, you can deny them of Mega evolving, uh, and that might make it easier for you to take them down because of the lower HP and slightly weaker attacks that comes with it. So overall, it's mainly used for the special energy, but you know the fact that I can get rid of tools might be helpful in some situations. So one in here is not so bad, and you can get it back with VS Seeker, so it can be multiple counts if you need it. 1AZ, like I said before, the standard format is mainly about prize denial and prize exchange, and AZ is one of those cards that kind of prevents your opponent from taking prizes from you. AZ allows your opponent to not poke at you if you see that they're trying to poke at you for the point of getting a two-shot, or if your opponent is in an unfavorable situation where they want to poke at you, but that's not the best option, but they have to do it because they don't have any other options at the moment. You can prevent that. You can kind of reset a turn from them. And if your Pokemon has any double colorless, if your Pokemon have double colorless, then it's kind of wasted. But if your Pokemon have dark energy, Yveltal can always bring it back. So it's always favorable to like try to synchronize your AZs with any Pokemon who have dark energies, because then you will get a better benefit out of it because your Yveltal can just bring them back. It may not always be the case that you can do that, but I think exchanging a double colorless energy for a prize in a deck that can bring back energies is pretty much worth it, in my opinion. It can sway the entire matchup in your favor and either continue your momentum that your opponent's trying to stop, or stop their momentum and try to swing it in your favor. So I really like this card. It also can get you out of weird situations where your opponent might try to Lysander you to stall, and you could just get out of it with AZ. So it could be like a pseudo switch card too. If Zoroark is not available, I kind of like it a lot. Enhanced Hammer. One Enhanced Hammer is pretty much a trainer version of Zoroark. You can hit an opponent's double colorless, which most people use. You can also use it for double dragon. You can use it for not sure what other special energies are prevalent right now. I don't think there are too many. Flash energy. I was just talking about that earlier. Flash energy is a big energy to get rid of when Gallade is trying to kill a Manectric one shot. So a nicely timed Enhanced Hammer pretty much can sway the game in your favor. But every other deck in a mirror, it can get rid of a Pokemon that's like a backup attacker. So you one-shot the opponent's active, get rid of its energy from the backup, and now they're in a weird spot. Pretty solid, pretty amazing, really good. Acrobike. Acrobike and Trainer's Mail I'm going to put in the same category. Those two cards are pretty much trainer versions of like Draw Power. I use that term a little loosely, but essentially that's what they are. They help you go through your deck, find what you need, empty out your hand, and let you use maxis pretty flawlessly. They can go through your deck a little quickly, so that's just something to be mindful of. If you go through your deck too quickly, you might run the risk of decking out earlier than you want, and that's happened to me. So you just gotta be more mindful of how many cards are in your deck, and whether you should use your Trainer Mail or Acrobike. If you need to. You might not have to, and if you don't have to, then you should just wait on it. You know, it's better to hold it for a better opportunity than to just go through your deck and then find yourself decking out later on. Lysander. I've seen counts of 1 and 2 of Lysander, but I don't think anybody can dispute that this card is necessary. It's guaranteed catcher in supporter form. You can throw it away. You can VS Seeker it back. You can use it anytime you want. I decided to put 2 because I feel like 1, same argument that I have for Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick. If you have 1, it gets prized, you need it. It's kind of tough to recover from that. Also, a lot of strategies depend on Pokemon hiding on the bench that your opponent's trying to kind of protect because they're essential to their strategy or plan of attack, and you bringing up a Lysander to bring up one of their Pokemon is essentially kind of like a Zoroark or an Enhanced Hammer, except you're knocking out the Pokemon that has the energy on it, or you're knocking out whatever they're hiding in the back to try to, you know, mount an attack to you next turn. So it's really disruptive, it's really useful, and I think most games you'll use, I would say guaranteed one, but sometimes even two. So I say two is a really good number. I wouldn't really mind going down to one, but it would have to be for a really good reason, and I don't think there's a better reason for it to go down to one, except if you're going to add something that's super essential, and I don't think anything is more essential than Lysander. Uh, Maybe draw power if your draw power is lacking, but anyway, you need this card. Whether one or two, you need it. Giovanni Scheme. This is one of my cards that I like, and a lot of people don't really like this card, but I personally really like this card. I feel like this deck is about options, like I said a million billion times, and Giovanni Scheme is the card that gives you options. It has a pretty weak draw power, which in most decks I would say that's like something to overlook. But considering that this deck plays Gallade and you can look at the top 5, to be able to at times look at the top 5 and play Giovanni Scheme to draw up to 5 cards, you can kind of tailor what you're drawing with Giovanni's, which makes it pretty strong in my opinion when you need it. But you don't want to discard your entire hand to something like Sycamore. So I like holding on to stuff and being able to play Giovanni Scheme with something like Gallade that can allow me to draw more stuff just in case I need it in a certain situation. So in that sense, it becomes kind of like a supporter version of something like Trainer's Mail or Acrobike, where you can look at the top cards and get exactly what you need through Giovanni's. Through Giovanni's and Gallade combined. What I really like about this card is that it adds 20 damage to your active Pokemon's attack. So it's kind of like a split draw power and muscle band combined, and it's one of those trump cards that people forget about, where Pokemon, they'll see it get thrown away with something like Battle Compressor, which I haven't touched on, but I will. You'll see it get thrown away, and it's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. If I don't see it anymore, it's not that big of an issue. But sometimes to be able to do something like, Baby Yveltal comes up, Muscle Band, Giovanni Scheme for 70, get back an energy and potential knockout for something, that could be really strong. That could be something that somebody doesn't even expect. Or it can put a lot of pressure on another Yveltal, where most Yveltals that don't play this card can do only 50. So doing 50 twice isn't going to knock out your Yveltal, but you doing Muscle Band Giovanni Scheme twice, which it sounds unlikely, but you can do it. And if you do that, you do knock out an Yveltal, recover 2 energies, and you're pretty much ahead of the game. So now your Yveltal did everything it's supposed to do. It can potentially get a knockout, but now you're pretty much in the lead because you have this card. So there are little things like that that might matter. Or like you can do Yveltal for 30 to something like Zoroark, and if he happens to hit you and knock you out, which you can prevent by not having a full bench, but if he can hit you, and then you could put him in a weird position by filling up your bench, then putting a double colorless, not a double colorless, a muscle band, doing Giovanni Scheme, and doing 70. That's 100. So that there's a lot of tricks you can play with this card, and people don't necessarily see it at first glance, but I really like this card. I like playing around with this card. I think this card is really, really solid, and I think it's worth putting in most decks. Maybe not most decks, but decks in about half of the decks that people tend to play, and at least trying it and seeing how it goes. I like this card. One of my favorite cards that have come out. I'm gonna hit on Judge. I'll hit on this card last. Judge. Judge is I guess it's kind of like the pseudo end that's come out now. It gives you a draw power that you don't have to discard with, but it's mainly to disrupt your opponent, just in case you want to get a knockout, and mess up their hand, so it makes it harder for them to recover. It's not as strong as N, so I only advocate one, if any. Sometimes it doesn't work, but you know, you might as well, if you have the space, throw one in, and you have the option to mess up your opponent if you want to. It's not bad. I'll say that. It was better before, but now, I think trainers are really strong, supporters are pretty strong, and there's no way to lock your opponent, I guess, power-wise, maybe trainer-wise, but like, they're still getting 4 cards, and 4 cards is still not that bad, so it's okay. Where am I? Okay. Battle Compressor. Battle Compressor is here because it pretty much helps the deck flow. Some people play 4. Most decks play 4 whenever they play it, but 3 I feel like is not so bad either. 4 is obviously better to get it early, but then you're left with Battle Compressors in the deck that are kind of dead. Not a big issue, considering that Battle Compressor can throw itself away when you don't need any more. So like the first Battle Compressor can do what it needs to do, and the second one can throw away the rest, so that you don't draw into them, and essentially make them dead draws. But also, I cut one out to leave space for options. I could easily see myself adding a 4th and killing the Judge, just because, you know, Judge is not as great as I would like it to be, but I'm gonna leave it in for now. Anyway, gets rid of Gallade from the deck and toss it in discard. Gets rid of Maxis in the deck and toss it in discard, just in case you have VS Seeker. Tosses all these options away, just in case you have VS Seeker and you want to use them. You can definitely do it. You can throw away Giovanni Scheme. You can throw away Judge. You can throw away Lysander. You have 2 in the deck, so you can leave 1 in the deck and put 1 here. You can throw away Darkness Energy and get it back with Yveltal the same turn. Professor Sycamore, I wouldn't necessarily throw away, but you can, and get it back with VS Seeker if you have to. This with VS Seeker is a, you know, any supporter you want for the situation. So super solid, super necessary for consistency, and just strong as hell. It's one of the best cards that have come out in recent time. Last card I want to talk about is Parallel City. This is I would consider this one of the only techs in the deck. Maybe Giovanni Scheme as well. All these ones like AZ, Zerasic, Enhanced Hammer, those I guess are techy, but this is like a tech that's not based off of like energy or prize denial. I guess it is, but it has multiple functions. Let me say that. Parallel City is usually used to like choke your opponent's bench to 3 so that they can't do things like, you know, use Raichu effectively or set up as well as they'd want to because they can't bench. But sometimes you would use Parallel City to choke your own bench, to throttle your own bench to 3. And the reason why you would do that is because sometimes you have Shaman EXs clogging up the field, and they're targets for Lysanders. So if you put your Parallel City out, and the blue side faces you, you get to put your bench from 5 or 4 to 3. And those Shamans that are taking up space get sent to the discard. Now, when they get sent to discard, your opponent no longer has the option to bring them up and knock them out for an easy 2 prizes. So, it's kind of like utilizing a negative aspect of the card for a positive outcome. And I think that's really cool, considering the fact that every deck needs Shaman, and you are taking that out of the equation you're using them and also taking the negative aspect of Shaman out of the equation by utilizing the negative aspect of Paladin City upon yourself. So it's really cool that way. You can use the red field on their side if they have any fire, grass, or water types. You know, there are some fire decks, there are some grass decks, there are some water decks. So like, I guess it can be useful as well in that sense. But mostly it's again prize denial, and it improves the prize exchange just in case you want to get their shamans and you put your parallel city on your side with the blue facing you, so you get rid of your shamans and now their shamans are targets. Essentially you're gonna win that prize exchange if everything goes well. So that's pretty much every card analyzed. Oops, Flowstone, free retreat to anybody. You add it to Zoroark most of the time, but you can give it to everybody, anybody, and it gives them free retreat. So it just adds to the flexibility. Alright, now I've hit on every card. No, I haven't. Hexmaniac. Hexmaniac is a card that really helps out with the decks that utilize powers to fuel their attacks. So anything that brings back energies like Bronzong, Reshiram, anything that prevents... Off the top of my head, I can't really think of too many abilities that do something crazy besides Shaman, obviously, and Hoopa and things like that. But like anything that's like constantly going. Crobats, if you don't want Crobat picking you off or Golbat picking you off with their abilities, Hexmaniac will shut them down for a turn, even two, and that can make, you know, I think one of the best things about Golbat and Crobat, that lineup, is that they need the timing to be right in order for their abilities to be effective. If my Yveltal or any Pokemon I have survives longer than it's supposed to because Hexmaniac shut down their abilities, then I guess their abilities no longer matter. Considering that maybe their hand is holding those Crobat and Golbat and they don't want to throw them away through like Sycamore or Ultra Ball, whatever it is, and they can't use Shaman to draw. So like it leaves them in a really funky spot and allows you to capitalize on that weird situation that you put them in. So you use it during certain matchups. Certain matchups it's pretty dead, so you just toss it, forget about it. But other matchups it's pretty essential. Once or twice a game, and it really messes up your opponent. Alright, I hope everything has been touched on. I think so. Let's get to playing. I'm going to play a game. I'm going to show you how it goes. Let's go. Let's go. I didn't want to do that. Lobby. Yes. Alright. So here we go, starting up with Yveltal, Zoroark, Gallade. I started with Yveltal, so that's really good. That's the preferred start. And looks like I mulligan twice. Oh no. It's another one. Maybe it's the same guy. Sorry. Oh, is it? Do I go first? I go first. Alright. So I have a better hand, but I still don't have exactly what I want. See, again, I'm off by one. If I didn't have a Sycamore, I think I would have been able to pull off the thing. Maybe not. Oh, he goes first. I thought I went first. Why did I think I went he first? Alright, whatever. So he puts out his stadium. That's okay with me. I don't mind that so much. My stadium is pretty useless in this matchup. Actually, that's not true. I think if I put the Parallel City on his side, it will be better. Let's see what he has already. Okay. Okay, so he started with a double colorless. So I guess he's going for a blacksmith this turn. Okay, he's gonna Shaman, draw two. Alright. So he's pretty much going through his setup. Um, he's probably looking for a blacksmith so he can hit next turn. Um, hopefully, what would make my hand come together is, yeah, he got the blacksmith, so he's fine right now. I would need a Ultra Ball, really. If I get an Ultra Ball, I think I'm okay. I did not get it. It's actually like not the greatest thing to get, actually. Alright, so I'm gonna put the double colorless on Zora. I'm gonna try to retaliate next turn. He might Lysander me. He has it here, so he can be a secret. Not the biggest concern. I'd rather put it on something than throw it away. It's kind of like, obvious. I'm probably, I'd rather not put on energy on Yveltal, because if it goes, at least I don't lose the energy attachment. Even though the energy would be better off in discard, but I can just put energy in discard now. So, kind of goes both ways. What I do want to get rid of is, I think in this sense, Blacksmith might be, not Blacksmith, Battle Compressor might not be necessary anymore. I think one and done is fine this matchup. Alright, so I think I'm going to get rid of it. I don't think there's any need for it. Acrobike. And I don't really care about any of this. I'm going to throw it away anyway. So, yeah. Whatever. No Sycamore. I'm sad. Actually I have a Trainer's Mail. This didn't really help. I have a AZ and a VS Seeker. I'll take the VS Seeker, I guess it'll be better. And I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait. I mean, in this instance, I really need a Gallade. I whiffed on getting anything else. That's a little rough. I honestly, in this situation, I would have rather had a Yveltal EX even to put him down. And even if he takes 2 prizes on it, I think the fact that I would have had either a Zora or Zoroark to mess with would have been okay. Essentially, I would want another Zoroark, but not I didn't get anything, so it's kind of tough. I think if I'm him, I'm searching for a Lysander to get me to put a crazy amount of pressure. That'd be really good, If he gets it, that's awesome. But if he doesn't, then that gives me a chance to at least retaliate. I don't think I can one-shot him, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Unless he benches something else. I don't think he would. If he wants to prevent the knockout, he wouldn't bench. I think I'm in a spot where I have too many cards and I can't get rid of enough to do Gallade. So I'm gonna do this. I did get Muscle Band, so my Giovanni's, I should have thrown it away. My Giovanni's would have gotten a knockout in this situation. Not to say that he couldn't get, anything else, but I would have been in a better spot. So I'm in a tough spot right now, and I need something to get out of it. Right now, Palo City would actually be kind of good. 10, 30, 60, 90, 100. Yeah, I need 40 damage, and I don't think I can do it without a Battle Compressor. That just shows like your Battle Compressors being thrown away are really important. Since I've already committed, I'm gonna put this on him. I'm just gonna judge. I could Sycamore. He has 5 cards in hand. Throwing it down to 4 really doesn't mean anything. So I'd rather just... I hate throwing away double colorless, but it's gonna happen. And also, like, I kind of need to. I'm gonna do Trainer's Mail. Let's see. I will take... Oh, I do one-shot him. He hit himself. So that's kind of good on my part. I didn't even realize that. He did 30 damage to himself. So I'm gonna one-shot him. 30, 60, 90, 100, yeah. So I didn't even need any of that. I made the right play. Now I gotta start for next turn. So I think I'm okay. I think I'm fine for now. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put this on both of these guys. And I might wait on these 2 cards and just put this on him. Although I think like I think a nicely timed enhanced hammer is just gonna mess me up. So I could do a enhanced hammer on him. Let's try that. I don't think I would get it, but you know. Okay. You know what? Let's get that. I'll get that. Mind check. So I actually forced him in a position where he has to get Blacksmith again. He can't do anything else. So that's kind of beneficial for me, because that gives me I don't want to say it gives me a free turn. It gives me it forces him into a position where he might not feel comfortable that he wants to do that. But maybe he does. Maybe he wants to do 130 to me. And if he does, I know a 1 energy thing can get back at him. So Giovanni's scheme was a little short-sighted, but you know, he might get the VS Seeker. I don't know how many he's used. 1. So yeah, he has a good chance of getting it. He put Assault Vest. All right. Oh, but does he already have? Oh, he has Lysander. Oh, really? Ah, I don't like that play. I don't like that play at all. I think maybe he's trying to one-shot me. Not one-shot me, but you know, he's trying to do like minus 30 damage. And if I get a Dark Energy, I don't think he put the Assault Vest on. No. So if I get a Dark Energy, minus 30, I need to do 160. Since his Pokemon by attacks reduced by 30. Oh, he gave me this guy. So he's 160 right now. Can I hit 160? Let's see. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 40, 60, 80, 120, 140. I'm shy by 10, by 20. Oh, I don't know what he did. Why did he? Oh, he didn't do anything. Oh, man. So I get to do a one-shot. That's awesome. That's a mess up on his part. He says oops, but I don't know where his mess up was. He didn't attach an energy? I don't really know. Benching? I'm not sure. I get to one-shot. I thought he would hit me for Flame Screen, which is a really good attack too. But he didn't. He whiffed on that. So I have the Dark, I have the double colorless. He has a double colorless. So that's 120. So I'm off by 10. But this is where Giovanni's scheme comes into play. And I think it's awesome that I get to do this. I get to choose. And I usually would want to draw because my hand's kind of slow, but I have everything I pretty much need for next turn. I'm doing an extra 20. Actually, I probably didn't need that. I'm an idiot. But that's okay. That's a misplay on my part. I overlook a lot of the tools. I should have looked at my own Pokemon. I was concentrating on his. Anyway, whatever. I made a mistake. I get to... Well, maybe... Oh, I get to do another play. Oh, that's awesome, actually. So, he has Assault Vest on him. So, it may seem like a misplay, but my misplay actually turned into something kind of cool. Which is... I don't have a good Pokemon to put it on. Can I find one? I can find one. Yes, let's do it. Boom. Oh, yes. All right. Kind of happy. So that turned into something funky, but you know what? It's working out. It's happening, people. It's getting better. I don't want to throw away muscle band, but I don't want to throw away muscle band. I also don't want to throw away shaman. It's between one of these two. It could be this too. I actually don't know. I'm gonna do something crazy because I want these two cards. So I'm gonna do Via Seeker. And guess what, guys? I don't have another Zoroark. That makes me sad. But I'll get this guy because he's cool. He's cool beans. So as you see, my deck is 13 cards. It's kind of low, so I'm not gonna draw, even though I said, I would. Maybe I should have thrown this away because I could have maxed these next turn, but whatever. It's alright. It's alright, guys. It's alright. Why Cyclone? Get rid of this. Put it on this guy. Boom. 130. Awesome. And what's cool about this now is that I can replace his stadium, lower his damage output, and get rid of my shamans. So if he replaces it, I can get out Gallade next turn. Woo! Or in 2 turns. I think I got rid of a double colorless. That makes me kind of sad. So I think I only have 1 left. I didn't see it in here, but considering he keeps benching, it might. He only has 3 cards, so the potential of him blacksmithing and having stuff it's kind of low. He's taking a while, so it could be because I was taking a while. So he figured like he's gonna take forever. I don't blame him. He did also make a mistake, so I guess that was kind of tough. He might not make it in time. No, he didn't make it in time. No good. Alright. So, as you can see, there are a few options. My hand was a little rocky at start, but the fact that I misplayed and turned that from one option that I thought of to a different option that made just as much sense, if not more, just goes to show you that this deck is pretty flexible with what it wants to do and how it wants to do it. It's really strong. Manectric might be a prominent force that puts it in a weird danger zone. So if you have a lot of Manectric in the metagame, whether it's like expanded or standard, this deck might have a little trouble handling it. Even with Gallade, Gallade is not the hard counter to Manectric. It does help, but it's not gonna like make it impossible for Manectric to win. I still think Manectric has the advantage there. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. It's been quite a long episode. I will see if I can make these episodes a little shorter. I'm gonna do more deck profiles, and also get some of my team control members together, and we'll do potentially bi-weekly podcasts where we play matches that are pretty much exhibition matches while we talk about the metagame, tournaments, future sets, and all that stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you stick around and tune in to watch. I'll be very grateful. I'm already very grateful if you've seen this episode, and hopefully I get to entertain you guys with more. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.